Hello, and welcome along to the stream. Quick sanity check. Can everybody hear me? This is the first time doing this in a while, so let's just make sure it's all coming through fine. I see some cheers coming through, so thank you very much for that. Maurice and Manfred, I appreciate it as always. So it has been a while, Maurice. I've been out for a while now. It's like 3 weeks, I think, since the last stream that we did. Since then, I have been... Where have I been? I went on a family holiday, so I went away with the kids and Lynn for a little bit. And before that, I went to a training course, the Hack Yourself First course. Yes, thank you, Maurice. So that was really good. The guy behind that, Scott Helm, genuinely clever guy, and it was a great training course. So 2 days of learning basically how to hack a website and all the things that you can kind of do to protect yourself from the different attack vectors that there are. The whole premise of the course was based around the fact that both he and Troy have this website, hackyourselffirst.com, that you can literally... They've set it up so that website is vulnerable to attacks. And the idea is that as part of the course, you go through the process of hacking the website. And so SQL injection, cross-site scripting, various other things that you can do in websites that once you see them in action, it's really quite scary. So, good fun all round. And yes, hello, Kim. Sorry, I forgot to say hello to you. Yes, thank you all for coming. Is it me or is Gary's voice now even... I've been working on it, Maurice. I've been adding some sultry tones to my voice. Can you hear it? No, not at all. Could be the weather that we're having here. It is roasting here in Scotland. I am melting. The dialect... Oh, no, don't say that. Oh, no, don't say that. I can't have that. I'm not aware of anything changing, but... I know what the OWASP top 10 is, Maurice. I'm not sure if I could list them all, but that was certainly mentioned as part of the course, yes, because obviously SQL injection is still one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one, on the top 10 there. But I wouldn't be able to list them all, no. So what was I going to say? Right, so where we're going to, or what we're going to... Okay, let's back up a step. As per Maurice's suggestion, I had to rebuild my VM. So if we look down in this bottom right-hand corner here, we should see that I've rebuilt my VM, and I've got another 74 days of the license here that I'm using for... So I'm again using Stefan Scherer's base VM for testing purposes, and I have updated the Vagrant script that I use as part of the setup. So I've been through and I've added in some of the OSS live streams. I've added in some of the packages and repositories. Come to that in a second. We're getting ahead of ourselves there. So I've been through and I've updated a couple of scripts this evening just as I was building this out. So the repositories that are being cloned as part of the setup, and also the required applications that need to be installed. So all of this went really well, I think. And I've got to a point where I have most of the setup automated, obviously using Chocolatey, and there's still some manual tasks here that I've had to do for reasons. At some point I might get to them to actually completely automate them. But I haven't logged in. See, I logged in my other one. Okay, so a couple of things. So I do need to do that. So let's get that out of the way so that I can put in my details here and I'll go silent for a little bit, and then we'll get that signed in. Oh, that's what I did. I signed in at the command line because I needed that for cloning purposes. But I'm going to go dark for a second while I put this in. Just give me a sec. Okay, I'm back. So it's me log back in. So I had logged in at least once because I went through that process, but that was at the command line, not here. So I have updated this with all the requirements that as we've been building up this application and building out these streams, there's been other applications that I needed to install, so I've kind of consolidated that into this script. There are some manual tasks that I had to run. Some of those things are behind private repository, so I haven't wanted to automate that because obviously that involves storing secrets somewhere in order to get access to things. So that's why they're still listed there as manual. So you say a YubiKey. That was one of the topics of conversation around at the Hack Yourself First course. So we discussed the YubiKey because I know what a YubiKey is, but I was never clear on why you would want one over just kind of the authenticator app that I use here. But Scott Helm on the course, he had one. In fact, he had multiple. He said he had like 6 or 7 different YubiKeys. He had the base one, obviously, which was the USB one. He had a Bluetooth one. He had various ones. He had one stored in a safe so that everything went to hell. He'd have a backup. So I like the idea of it. I'm just not sold on the fact I have to buy like multiple of them in order to have a backup. As long as you are passing the USB through to the VM, in theory it should work, I guess. But I haven't tried it. So I'm not... I think at some point I will make that jump, because he was kind of explaining the difference in terms of... we were talking about the whole SMS tokens that you can use for certain websites, which are inherently vulnerable over something like the authenticator apps. So it's just that kind of the natural progression down that way. Currently. So interesting you should say that then. So there are a couple of things there. If you lose your phone, you have a backup as well. And that's why he had mentioned that I should maybe switch to using Authy rather than what I'm using just now, because Authy essentially does a backup so that you could restore it, assuming I think the master password for everything. So Authy kind of gets around that one. But the other one is that, so what happens if you lose that YubiKey, Kim? If that one YubiKey that you have goes missing, you're kind of screwed, right? Excuse my French. So that was the one thing I wasn't clear on in terms of the hardware keys. It was kind of a bad word, so that's kind of why I said that. It's not a nice word. Not a nice word to say in context. So where we're at is, if I recall correctly, straight to the point. I also have a set up to use Authy as a backup. Okay, interesting. I might have to pick your ear about that one. Because I think that's my next thing I'm going to get as a YubiKey, or some form of it anyway. Okay, so where we got to a few weeks ago was we completely stubbed out the API section of the website. We got that kind of functional. We had the website up and running such that we were able to create subscriptions, edit subscriptions, delete subscriptions, and then we kind of spoken. You have hidden an icon behind you. I have. It's the desktop INI files that I can't get rid of. but I've enabled hidden files. So I kind of thought I'd put them down behind me so that they were out of the way. I'd like to not have them there, if I'm honest, but because I've enabled show hidden files and folders, they appear. So it's not a secret. It's not a surprise to say that this is what we're doing or anything like that. It's literally just Windows being Windows. So, but I thought I'd try and hide them out of the way. So the first thing I wanted to do tonight, was basically make sure that everything's still working. So I've recloned everything, and Maurice mentioned it earlier. Usually why I disable... Oh, I'm not sure if I go that far. Disable all desktop icons? Maybes. Ooh. I might have to think about that one too. Right, so basically I want to make sure that everything's still working. And if we can get to the point where everything's working, we then have a decision to make. Are we going to go into refactoring mode and kind of tidy up the code a little bit? And there's kind of the last step that we want to do is kind of limit the creation of subscriptions so that we can only create certain ones. Or I thought we might discuss and try and figure out how we can integrate with the GitHub Marketplace so that we can, because that's kind of where we'll ultimately go, I think, with the website. The idea being that we're now logging in with the website. We want to check to see whether someone is maybe paying us via the GitHub Marketplace. And if that is enabled, we would want to light up different features within the application. Now, I have no idea even where to start with that. So that's maybe some investigation that we could do, or we could do some refactoring of the code to try and tidy up some bits and pieces. But the first thing we need to do is make sure that it's still working. But there's a comment there from Reese. Deleting the desktop INI files is not recommended, even though it is not really harmful. The only thing they do is store some visual customization options, and deleting them won't damage your Windows installation. The only consequences of this action is that the folder in which they are found will lose its custom appearance when it is displayed by Windows. And Maurice and Kim saying, I did delete them once when I started working with computers. I will never make that mistake again. I can't say I've ever tried to delete them, but I'm on a VM, so I might try it later. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so I've got two instances of Visual Studio open here. One is for the API and one is for the website. I'll maybe do it later, Manfred. Maybe once the stream's finished. So let's start up the API project. So the API is the one that's talking to our Azure Storage emulator running locally on the machine, and we're using Azure Table Storage for storing some data. Now, because I've blown all of that away, the tables and various things that are in there aren't there. So I guess what I should do is, first of all, is make sure that my builds are working. So let's go ahead and run the build on the API project. Restore cake, restore some NuGet packages, and make sure that everything's still building. And if it does, then we will try and go about running it and see what happens. So that's where we're going to start this evening, and then we will make a decision about where we're going to go after that. So it's running. We've got that nice yellow text of indicating that there's a problem with cake.recipe, but I'm going to fix that at some point. I'm going to get to that. If anyone's following along, I have been starting to update the cake contrib add-ins to get to a point where cake.recipe is being utilized correctly on a significant portion of the cake contrib add-ins. And once I get to that point, I'm going to start breaking cake.recipe. So that's definitely something to look forward to. I know Kim might be interested in that. We are going to get to that point, hopefully soon. But we'll see. We'll see. So it's... I think you need to do another series to upgrade the add-ins. Maybe. I would like to get this to a point where I can tell you all about the secret and hopefully get you start using it. So I would like to get this to a point where we can kind of sign it off, and then I can maybe do that. But I would also like to have them both done reasonably quickly. So don't know how I'm going to do that. But we're getting there, because the process I'm going through with the Kit Contrib add-ins at the minute, I'm trying to bring them all up to using .NET Core as well, so that going forward, if we do make another breaking change in Cake, getting everything updated should be simply the process that Jericho has been working on, which is to automate the creation of a PR into that repository, just to make that one or that couple changes in the CS proj file, and then it should be very simple to get them all updated. But it's not there yet. Maybe. See, Matthias is on the chat room, so I can't divulge anything that he hasn't signed off. Okay, so that one worked, and if we go into the other one, which is this one, just do a build here to make sure that that's also still working. And if it is, then we'll run them up and make sure that they're still functional. And if that happens, we will decide where we're going to go next. So I see Artur's in the chat room. Have you seen the sheer amount of notifications that are coming out of Git version repository at the minute? Stalebot has been busy on that repository today. You could try, but we literally haven't done anything on the site or the project since we left the last stream, so I still don't think we've moved on anywhere. But I don't think we're ready to tell people yet. But the annoying thing is oh, Artur was in the chat room. He's maybe just dropped out. Oh, what was I saying there? The annoying thing is that Matthias is actively making use of the backend for subscriptions that he's created for himself. So he is that process is working. We know that part's working. So it's just a case of getting the front end to a point, like the MVP, the minimal viable product, just to get it functional. If we could get to that point, it would be good to get it up and running, even in its basic form. I mean, I'm not imagining. Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I don't see him in the chat room, but he was online earlier. I saw him on Slack earlier, so he is active. But he's also away at his holiday place at the minute, because they're away on Crazy Swedes get like whole summer off, so they're away holidaying, I think. So he's not around, I don't think. He could be hosting the stream, yes, but no, he's on vacation at the minute, I believe. Okay, so those both built. So if we go ahead and go to the API and run this guy, then we will see if it works. And if it works, we should get a new entry in the Storage Explorer. I think that sounds like a great idea, Maurice. We definitely have to, him and I need to sit down and have a chat about certain things to make sure that we're both on the same page with certain things. Because I've kind of made some assumptions around how I've done things. And we need to make sure that we're both on the same page. The other thing that I do need to do, but I can't really do that on the stream without giving too much away, is that this common project that I created, I've got my model in there. There's only one model that's currently shared between the website and the API. Matthias has some other common models that are used elsewhere in the code base. So we kind of need to extrapolate those and put them into this common project as well, so that there's commonality between those. So that's definitely something I need to do. But again, I don't know if I can do that on the stream necessarily. So here we're spinning up the Azure Functions emulator, and it's doing its thing. And oh, what's that? Function failed. Now my Azure Storage emulator is. Now I tested this. This one I did. This one I did test. I thought it was there. Hold on. Here's my local. Here's my tables. It is there. So why did my... Oh, what's that? Source link will download from the internet. I think that's a great idea, source link. I did not know that that was bundled now into Visual Studio like that. I'm going to say download source and continue debugging. That sounds like a great idea to me. So, storage account name is not configured. So, what did I call it? Have I called it something different and that's why it's failing? I should see what name was. Name is storage. Okay, it's not called storage. Can I rename this thing? Does it want that to be called storage? Does anyone remember what that node said in my previous setup? Can I even change it? Detach. Oh, hold on. Emulator. Create a new one. Well, F2 maybe. No, unless it's not going through on the keyboard. Local and attached storage. Let's try it again now that everything's definitely running. Microsoft error indexing Azure adds subscription. Microsoft.Azure jobs extension storage. Storage account storage is not configured. That's a lot of storage in there. Let's try it one more time. Let's go back to API. Let's run this again. But that would be in the... And that's called it again. So let's check the... is it in here? Where's that connection string thing? Where does that live? I thought there was a... Following you how to do it through the connection if possible. I thought we had a file here that controlled where that lived, or did I create it? Oh, now I'm testing my memory. I might have to go back and... Is it in your git ignore file? Let's have a look. So cd into devgep API. Let's have a look in code for this thing. So in my git ignore file, it would. For certain files, I flip between. I find it easier to do it in here, if I'm honest. I don't think I did anything with that, Kim. We built the VM and git clone it again. Yeah, well, that's exactly what I did. But what I think what... So I blew the VM away. And now what I'm trying to remember is how we set up the connection string. I distinctly remember that there was a connection string because I remember looking at it, but I don't recall. It wasn't. Was it just a host.json file? Did we add something in here? Because there was a default connection string. There was. Oh, let's have a look at. Or am I remembering the web? Am I remembering the website? No, it can't be the website. There's a git ignore file in your source folder as well. No, there's not. Is there? Oh, in here. There is a git ignore file. Why have I got two git ignore files? JSON. Local settings.json. Now, where would I have, or am I remembering that? Maybe it's this thing I'm remembering. That's got an app settings.json file. So the question becomes, do I need the same thing in the API project? And if I do, then why did I? Into the host? Or into... What did I do? So what Maurice is saying, he thinks I copied part of this and put it into the... Well, let's test this part out, because this part is also talking to local storage. So this may well still create it. So let's see if this part works. But did it only happen when it queried them? And if it's querying them, then it's going to the website. No, you see, this shouldn't be touching the local storage at all anymore, should it? Because this access is now going through the API. The API is the entry point. So I would expect this to fall over because it shouldn't get anything from there. Let's wait and see what happens. To avoid SSL warnings in your browser, would you like? Absolutely. I would love to do that. It should for the users. Oh, you're correct. Yes. You're both absolutely correct. Yes. I agree. It's been a while. It's been 3 weeks. I've forgotten what this website's even meant to do. Oh. There's something we forgot. 10 virtual points for both you and Kim. But neither of you reminded me about this. There were some environment variables. Oh, it's all coming flooding back now. Let's do this before I forget then. GitHub.com, gep13/OSS live streams. Live streams. That should have been something you should have done before. It would have. I literally ran out of time. I ran out of time. I wasn't able to test that part. So let's go ahead and do a note here, and we shall add additional steps. We'll add a new one down here, which is going to be add environment variables. Now, if I recall correctly, there was one called client ID. So let's stop this because that's going to fail. Control-Shift-F, client ID. Yes, exactly that, for the GitHub social provider. So we said we wanted one called that. So cancel. We're not leaving yet. Add environment variables for. Oh, that wasn't good. What password was that? That I just showed on my. I just showed a password, but I don't know what it was for. Yeah, I might have to go and change my password. Let's paste that somewhere else. Let's do that first of all. That's not good. Try and figure out what password that was on my clipboard. Okay. I'm going to go dark a second. I'll be back in a minute. Whatever password that was, it's no longer in my clipboard. So I've got no way of what's in my password is now what my clipboard is now what I want it to be. I don't. That is most annoying. Let's have a quick check over here a second. This is not how these things are meant to go. Yeah, I think that was my GitHub password. I'm going to go and change that just to be on the safe side. GitHub.com. That's going to break a ton of stuff. Settings. Password security. Old password. I'm going to go. Obviously, you guys can't see this, but bear with me while I change my password to something else. How big a password can I put in GitHub? Let's try 100. Shall we? Paste. Update. Maurice is telling me something. Hold on. I think. Well, yeah. I do have two-factor authentication, yes, and I'm fairly sure that it was the GitHub password. But what I'll do is I'll keep my notepad around with the old one, and I'll go back and check the video footage to make sure that they line up. Yes, the one I've just pasted has what Maurice said in Gitter, so I'm reasonably confident that it's this. So, GitHub only allows 72 characters. Let's try that again. GitHub. Can't have a 100-character password. Let's generate a new 72-character one. Paste that, update it. Password successfully changed. Which accounts do we want to update? This one. Update. Okay, and as a sanity check, I'm going to go ahead and sign out of GitHub on this machine. And I'm going to sign back in again. Sign in. Authenticator code. Beautiful. Okay, so I've just successfully logged in and out of GitHub with my new 72-character password. Let's get back to where we were. So I hope not, Manfred. I hope not, Manfred. Absolutely not. No, and it wasn't. No. So I tend not to use my own personal GitHub account for my CI/CDs, so I don't think I've broken a ton of stuff. But exactly what Kim said, a lot of them are using a token. So, but they're all generated from my personal GitHub account. But I'm hoping that I don't think they get invalidated by changing a password. I guess we might find out. So the thing I wanted to copy and paste was this thing, right? And the other one was back over here. Where was the other one? The other one was the GitHub client secret. So we copy that and we go back into here, which is where we were, and we'll say that one. So now we need to create some environment variables. Now I can open at least this part. Maybe I should go dark as well. I'm going to go dark and add those. And so Kim's saying they don't get invalidated by changing the passwords. That's good. That's true. That's true. I'm going to go dark and I'm going to add those environment variables, and I'll be back in just a short while. Or actually, while I'm waiting, let's at least have the app open so that I don't have to find that while I'm going dark. Yeah, I hadn't forgotten that, Maurice. But so this is a blank VM, so there should be nothing secret when I click that button. But I'm not going to do it until I open up my applications and find the one that I created. But I don't seem to be able to find it. So, oh no, it's here. I found it. What, have I shown something else? Go dark, your API key of GitHub. Did I just show something else I shouldn't have? Don't think I did. But I haven't added any environment variables yet. So there should be nothing in. I'm not going to put it to the test, but there should be nothing in there of value at the minute. What will be in my environment variables? Which one? You're talking about the credentials that I stored? Those go into the secure credential vault. I'm so confused by what you guys are referring to. I will do a sanity check when I open that when I go dark, but I don't think they go in there automatically. Yeah, I'm going to do that. So let's do that. I'm going to go dark. Okay, so I am back. Oh, what? Oh. Yeah, you see, that didn't work. That was me trying to save the commit of that change that I made, but that didn't go through because of the password change. So let's do this again then. Let's put that in my clipboard. So let's cancel this. Leave that. Oh, here's Matthias. Look. Swan's in. Swan's in at the last minute. Once everything's almost working again. I'm going to go dark again to log back into my GitHub. I'll be back in a sec. You can fill dev lead in on what's been happening so far. Okay, I'm back. Somebody said something there. Kim said, "Remember to clear the clipboard afterward." Is there a way of doing that other than just copying and pasting something else? Have I missed something all these years in terms of clearing the clipboard? Is that something I can do nowadays? Set content in P. What does that mean? Oh, set content in... That's the rest of PowerShell. Add an extra line to log in to GitHub. Oh, I probably should do that. Let's do that. So this is my startup. Let's do that. And let's do log into GitHub in browser. I'll save something. Ooh, what's OT? Have I missed something there as well? Or are you just making? Is that a typo? OT? No. Or clip.exe. Ooh, look at that. So, did me running that just kind of blitz what I had in there? I wonder. You can pipe to it. Okay, good to know. I see that there's a pipe there. Look at that. Dir clip places, blah blah blah. Oh, let's go back to that. Anyway, so now that he is here, he might be able to answer the question. But now that we've got those things, the site should run. Now that we've got those two environment variables. So to fill you in, Matthias, because of the license, the enterprise evaluation license of my VM, it ran out. So I blitzed the VM and brought it back up to life from a fresh clone or a fresh vagrant image, and we're trying to get the site and the API working together again. And so far, the API doesn't work, and the website doesn't work. But now I'm going to have to close and open Visual Studio because we've altered environment variables out with the currently running process. So let's just get back to the beginning. You know what? Let's just close everything in case some of them need some stuff. We could have done a refresh env on that one, but we've started now. So let's close out these and Azure Storage Emulator. Right, we're back to the beginning. Matthias is paying bills. I will interrupt, I think, because I'll get the site working. I think the site will work, but the API wasn't running. And I think I've lost a connection string to the Azure Storage Emulator. But there was nothing obvious in my git ignore file that said I would have ignored a file that didn't get checked in. So we might have to figure out what's going on there. But let's run up the website again and see if that's working. Fun games. We'll call this stream the Getting Things Working Again stream. The local settings.json file, but I don't recall, and no one else in the stream could remember us creating a local settings.json file. What is up with that? Let's try a refresh there. That looks like the CSS and JavaScript is missing. What's going on there? More tools. There's definitely some issues. Failed to load resource. Where's my jQuery? Where's it trying to load that from? Lib jQuery dist? What? So we're missing JavaScript. We're missing jQuery and Bootstrap. Why are those not there? And who put them there? CDC, Azure, DevOps, devgep, API site. No, we definitely did. I'm relatively sure we did. So the problem here is that site.css, yeah, there is no lib folder. So it's trying to be run out of lib jQuery dist jQuery.js, but there is no lib folder. So the question is, who put them there previously and why are they not there now? I mean, I can go and get them, obviously, but I would like to know who put them there. So NuGet restore wouldn't pull in any JavaScript client libraries. You would need something like npm or yarn or the library package manager that now exists in here, but we never set any of that up. So, like, it would be this one, manage client-side libraries. But we never created a libman.json file. So I wonder if I just put these in, maybe this is what we need then. I don't actually know how to do a libman.json file. Let's learn together, shall we? Libman.json. So here, in my opinion, you set up the first application with cake running from terminal. So we did do that. We did, absolutely, we did do that. Now, what we then did is I then committed a bunch of stuff to source control. Now, I think the problem here is that the gitignore file that I use has excluded some stuff, because typically I don't check in anything that's in the lib folder. So I think potentially some of the files that got added by the project when we created it haven't been checked into source control. And what I need to ensure is that we have those in future. So I'm going to see if we can't put them in. So I think what we need is something like this. And yeah, because that's kind of where it wants to live, although they were in a dist folder. So let's put this back together. And let's do this. Why is that not formatted that properly? I'm not playing unless we know what it is. Yeah, sorry, we're still not there. Still not there. Well, I don't know, Matthias, is it? I mean, so there's nothing in the build process unless .NET build is doing stuff for us on a website. We're not doing a compilation of any sources, any client-side dependencies. So I don't know, but let's at least try and put this back together. Why is it? What the hell is it doing? Why is it adding commas when I don't want commas? Files, colon. It's doing something weird with my JSON. I probably am missing something. Files on libraries is what you're telling me. Missing a curly bracket. There. I still don't understand why it's being silly. There we go, that's why it's being silly. So if we do that and we do a build, does that automatically put stuff into my libjquery folder? Yeah, I'm not sure if it does. I'll be honest. But so where it's looking for, we go back to the site's gone now, but it was dist. I'm fairly sure it was libjquery dist. So let's put that in, and now we've got a jQuery thing in there. Beautiful. So, oh, I've lost that page now. I do. So I had it in my head that I needed that, and I was going to go back to that website because I think it also had Bootstrap in there. So I was going to steal it from there too. So Bootstrap was, where did it go? Here we go. Unpackage. Don't want that. Oh, it didn't have that. Oh, it does. Oh, it's using a different provider. Why not? Let's use Mark Randall's thing. Let's use that. Or no, it's not Mark Randall's, but it has. He added a provider for it. Now, does anyone remember if that said dist as well? Let's put that in there. Let's see what happens. View. Where's the refresh on that? Build it again. No, wrong one. Build. I believe you are correct, Matthias, yes. Where is... Why is that one not working? I've never really used it either, I'll be honest. We are flying by the seat of our pants here. Let's at least try running it and see what it does. We should, the jQuery.js file should be fixed. Now I'm genuinely, I want to go back and watch some of the earlier streams to see what was in there now. Let's reopen my developer tools here. And look at that. So Bootstrap bundle was in lib bootstrap dist as well. Bootstrap.css is in lib dist CSS. Oh, this is getting confusing now. Let's break this out so that I can put it down here. That didn't really help much, did it? So let's start with Bootstrap CSS. And let's have a quick search and say default provider cdn.js. Is there anything here else in here but Bootstrap? No. Loading library there. Watch stream on stream. Let's not do that. I just wanted to get it working. I just want to get it running. So libman's meant to be fully integrated. So let's just. So we want the bootstrap here. Bootstrap JS with libman. Let's see what Robert Ray has to say, shall we? See if he's got bootstrap as the title. But oh, see, this is what I want to see. I think no. Add a client-side library. So how do I do that? That's what I want. Manage client-side libraries. Where's that option? What has he got? Bootstrap JS with libman. He's got a in this tutorial there is a add client side library option, and what I want to do no, I don't have that option. Client side library. Or hold on, am I doing it wrong? Add. Oh, here we go. Add client side library. From there, so we want bootstrap. This is what I want. Look. Although there's a lot of them. Where's one just called bootstrap? Am I asking too much? I think I'm asking too much. There's a lot of bootstrap in there. There's a lot of bootstrap. Bootstrap. Where's just bootstrap by itself? I don't want Angular bootstrap. I just want. Okay, I have a thought. CD temp, and then .NET new -h. So we created a new MVC. Let's move this back up so we can see it. MVC devgep. Why did that not work? Invalid. Location. Name. Name. Let's just create it and see if see what it creates. And then I'm just going to steal the files just now for the. So in www.root, look, there is a lib folder, and that lib folder has a ton of stuff in it. So we need to figure out how to put those things into. What else is in here? Site.css and lib. So why? That's really I don't like that, because those don't get resolved by anything. So I don't like that it's just scaffolded those out for us. And obviously there's something in our getignore file that's not included them. So we're going to cheat a little bit. Let's get rid of this thing. Let's get rid of that one. And let's just paste in what we've got here. And let's go back to here and delete the libman.json file just now. And we'll need to figure out how to we'll need to figure out where to get those things from. So now that we've got those things added, we're going to have to force add those into the repository. But see if it works. Marissa's saying it's called Twitter Bootstrap. Or you could have added those files with the file system provider. I'm not sure I follow what you're referring to there, Kim. CDNJS is called that. Okay. So on here, we would have needed to find jQuery, jQuery validation, and Bootstrap as well. And in there's both CSS and JavaScript. And libman, after you pasted those files, or you could have added those files with file system provider. So what you're saying is, okay, let's just check to see if we're talking about the same thing. So if I go here and say add this with the, oh, I see. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that one, but okay. Good to know that that's there, but I think I still want those to be resolved from somewhere. But yeah, we'll come back to that one. That's an interesting little aside there. This is still definitely called the getting things working thing. So let's go and log in with GitHub. And we don't have a user anymore. Oh, that's not good. $5,001. Hold on. Oh, you see. Okay. So let's go back to here. And there is something in here that is running on the... It does. That is the exact problem. And if I go here and I thought we could control that through here. This is going back to my old days though. App URL, see it's not even on, oh it's there, look. Enable SSL. Kim's just saying debug. I'm not. This is the one that's wrong. So I wanna change that to be something else. No. That's there, look, that's the little guy that I was wanting to. This is what I want to change. Now these are stored somewhere. But I can't for the life of me remember. There's a config file somewhere that specifies that ID. Now I could, let's do it this way. Let's just 44349. Just go wild and use Kestrel. No. I'm going to update the app in GitHub to use the port number that we're currently using here. I cheated. I'm okay with that. Why does that still say 5001? that should have, oh, I've got it here. There's two of them. Copy, paste, update application, back to here. Maurice has given me a link here, and it's saying I think it's interesting. Okay, well, if this last thing doesn't work, we'll definitely give that a try again. Let's GitHub it. Boom. Right. So this was going to be bill@bill.com. Register. And then in here, we are now signed in as Bill. Bill has the concept of subscriptions, but this will break because Bill doesn't have a connection to the API. And that's fine. That's expected. But if we go back in here, we can see Bill's account, and he has all of the stuff that we set up before, which was personal data and all that stuff. Did I spell? Oh, I did as well. Look at that. I can change that. Oh, no, I can't. I can change the email, though. Let's change Bill. Bill@bill.com. Look at that. Beautiful. Right. So we log in, and we've got GitHub. And we're logged in as Bill. Absolutely cracking. Right. So, with Matthias on the line, let's go back and figure out why the API isn't running. So, I think he pasted stuff into the chat room while I was trying to get that other stuff working. So, might have to flip back and see what's going on. But I think what he said was that we should create a local dot something. CDC. Now that was in the .gitignore file, because I remember seeing it. So if I search again here for JSON, then there is a local settings.json file. So if I copy that and put blah 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 blah, so to connect to the string. Okay, slow down a second. So we're in the API. I'm going to add a new file called, I'm going to add a new JSON file, and it's going to be called local settings.json. And in there, you want me to put something that looks like this. I can't copy that text. So I'm going to put in Azure Web Jobs. Is there anywhere I can copy that? Any website that's got that, Matthias? Because that's not copy and pastable through. Use development storage equals true. Oh, there's a link. Hold on. Copy it clipboard. Let's try that then. Blah 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. So that would be. So the two parts are these two in the middle. So that's contained within a values. That's gonna fail. Values. And then he wanted me to use. So that's just fly away. Use development storage equals That's not going to work either. But that's not going to work either. Maurice has just pasted into Gitter, but Gitter is on my Mac and I'm on my Windows machine, so that's not going to work either. But I appreciate you trying. True. Okay. So why are you complaining? You're complaining because you haven't been closed off. I'm there. Right. Copy a clipboard. I've got another link here from blah blah blah. So that's effectively what I've just, apart from that, is encrypted false. I'm going to set that to because it's not encrypted. Right, so now if I run this API, let's see if it runs. Ooh, it's getting further than it got before. Ah, look at that. So we've got some HTTP functions. Look at that. So now if we go back over here, close this guy. If we go to subscriptions, shouldn't error anymore, unless it's still going to the wrong port. Let's have a look. Haha. So we create a new subscription. Who was the last person to talk? Matthias. So the recipient is Matthias. Create. Matthias should get a new subscription. Oh, he did. Look at that. So if we go back to here and say Azure Storage Explorer, let's make sure that some of these things got created. And if this works, we're back to where we were at the end of 3 weeks ago. So we're back up and running. Got there eventually. Right. So if we go to storage accounts, local, or will it be the emulator? Do not show this again. Dismiss. Tables. Look at that. So we've got our users. This table will have Bill in it. Bill with one L. Yes, it does. This table will have our newly created subscription that's going to Matthias and linked to the Bill user. And then we decided that we could go and edit this, I think. Oh, look at that. There's been a... Oh, look at that. Matthias has just gifted 5 tier 1 subs to my community. Thank you very much, Matthias. And it tells me they've gifted a total of 15 in this channel. Wow, look at that. Thank you very much. And so those tier 1 subs went to Kim, to Brett, to Copperbeardy, to Doc Commie, nice name, and to Martin, who I didn't see in the chat room, but I'm not sure if is Martin there and lurking. If we change this, since he might be lurking, let's change this to Matrin. Let's change this to Martin again. And hit save. And see if that gets updated. Which it did. And make sure it's gone all the way back down through to here. And it's got Martin in it. And then we decided that we could view details on it. Now the details... No, we didn't get that far. We need to do the details page, but we did do the delete because we got to a red button that says do it or don't do it, and we could hit delete. Right. Okay. So there's at least one thing that we need to do straight away, which is to add a details page, because right now the details page wouldn't have much more than what we're currently showing on this table. But this table is a bit naff in the sense that it's showing stuff that we don't want to show. So we need to refactor that. But we also want a details page because the way that the application will work is that the subscription will be added to, let's say, on a periodic basis, and we would potentially want to see the history of that subscription. So that's the thing that's going to exist in this details page. So we could add the details page, or we could start discussing integration with the GitHub Marketplace. So, show of hands. Oh, Morrissey's got to go. I hope we will get some details working out. I hope so too. Do we, as a people who are on the chat, want to have a look at what we need to do to integrate with the GitHub Marketplace, or shall we carry on with doing some ASP.NET MVC views and generally maybe some tidying up? So feel free to sound out in the comments about where we should go next. Part of me wants to look at GitHub Marketplace because I've never done that before, but I will try Bobby Tables. What does that mean, Manfred? I know what Bobby Tables is, but I'm not sure where you're going with it in this context. So let's close this. So Matthias is saying we should look at the marketplace. So let's maybe have a little look in here. Kim's saying the marketplace too. So that's 2. So let's go with that. So ASP.NET MVC integrate. Let's just see. Integrate with GitHub Marketplace. Let's see how we can do this. Oh, so OctoKit is obviously a way to do it. Account is so you want me to put that into the you want me to try putting that into the old entry box? I can start. Well, let's see what it does. So you want me to put that in the name of the subscription, the recipient. I'm perfectly willing to do that. I'm reasonably confident that this is not going to do anything, but let's give it a try. Let's see what it does. So if we go to subscriptions, no, that's privacy. Let's go to subscriptions. Let's edit this one. I'm going to edit it, which will be the same. So let's put in what you want me to put in was Bobby. That semicolon drop tables star. Boom. Save. See what it does. Bobby drop tables star. And I'm fairly sure that would have just went straight in as what I've typed in there. Yeah. So I'm okay with that. So the reason that I was reasonably confident with that is weird name though. Which name? Well, that was part of it. It is. If it hadn't, you wouldn't have gotten it. Absolutely, I totally agree with that. It would have come up with a standard sort of, or it might have got a yellow screen of death on certain websites, or we might have got a SQL exception being thrown and written out into the screen somewhere. Lots of things could have happened with that sort of SQL injection enumeration. But I was reasonably confident that was just going to go in. So, okay. So I was searching for GitHub Marketplace integration. So, I mean, the obvious one is to use something like OctoKit, but we need to know what I need to ask for. So, OctoKit might give us that information. To build your own, I don't want to build my own marketplace, no. ASP.NET e-commerce cart solution. Don't really want to do that either. Let's see what this has got integrating with GitHub. If anybody's got any links, by the way, feel free to share them and I can bring them up. Let's see what this Code Guru article is telling us about. An error occurred processing your request. Beautiful. Let's try it one more time. Doesn't look promising, does it? No. I don't think that's going to get us anywhere. ASP.NET, MVC, GitHub, Marketplace. Check for paid subscription, let's call it. Are these links safe to open? Let's have a look. So you both sent something through. Let's fire up this. GitHub Marketplace. Testing with stubbed. Ooh, that sounds interesting. List all plans for your Marketplace listing. List all GitHub accounts. Ooh, okay. Check if a GitHub account is associated with any market. Well, that sounds like exactly what we need to do. Get a user's Marketplace purchases. The GitHub Marketplace API allows you to see which customers are using a pricing plan. So we'll probably need to add a plan to the app that I've set up so that we can see those things come through, right? So there's a stubbed endpoint. Check if a GitHub account is associated with any Marketplace listing. Sorry, folks, leaving early. No problem, Manfred. Talk to you later. Thank you for joining us. Get a user's Marketplace purchases, and so this is what we want to do. For more information on the GitHub Marketplace, see this link. Thank you for the cheer, Manfred. Apps. So at the minute, I've got an OAuth app, which is what I'm currently using. But I think I would need to register a new GitHub app. GitHub Marketplace connects you to developers who want to extend and improve GitHub workflows. You can list free and paid tools for developers to use in the GitHub Marketplace. You can list verified and unverified apps in the Marketplace. Octo app. Let's have a look then. I think we need a new GitHub app. I'm currently typing one in on my other screen. What are you sending me there? Ooh, that looks interesting. Octokit.net. Working with GitHub apps. Authentication. GitHub app walkthrough. Yeah. Okay, so that does sound like that. So let's github.com/git13. Let's go back here. So on my other screen, I am currently starting to... Oh, hold on. I just read something from Matthias there that I wasn't necessarily expecting. This is something we want in the Azure Function API, I guess. Do we? Why do we want this in the Azure Function API? Why would we want that there? I'm happy to put it there. I just want to know why. Then paid, not paid could be in the list result. See, I was thinking the other way, that maybes. We would also have to extend the API to provide us additional information about what the current user then is able to do, rather than having that directly in the site. So as long as that's what your thought process is, then sure. I've done this. Let's go back a page. OAuth apps here. This one. Copy. Paste. User authorization callback is going to be that. It's asking me whether I want to request user authorization during installation. Request that the installing user grants access to their identity. Sure. Setup URL optional. Users will be redirected to the user authentication callback to complete additional setup. No, I don't think we need to do that. Webhook URL. Events will post to this URL. Don't really need to do that just now. And then it's asking me what permissions I want to set up. So I don't necessarily want anything from the user other than who they are and what plans they have. No, definitely not all permissions. View a user's plan. Yes, we want that. We want read-only access to a user's plan. And then it's asking me if I want to subscribe to events. And then it's asking me where can this app be installed. So at the minute I'm going to only install it on my account. Right. App config. So the only one that I've picked from the quick look through is to see what plan the user currently has. And it's just taking me off of that page. So I'm going to put that back on saying read-only access. So Matthias said there, webhook should definitely talk to API. I see where you're going. So you're saying that we would create another API endpoint that we would hook this thing up to, and in that API endpoint we would see when a new subscription was added, I guess, or when someone paid for a new plan, and then is that what you're thinking? Because there's nothing. We'd have to see what that looks like. So at the minute, I'm not going to set that because we don't have it, but I'm assuming we can go back and change that. So I've created that GitHub app, and it's told me that it needs a webhook URL. So we don't have that yet. But let's just make it so the API is available on. Where's the API available on? What's the URL for that? 771. So let's just put it into here, essentially. And we'll call it Marketplace just now. Here's where we need. And okay, so let's discuss that, shall we? Do you want to show me how to set up ngrok so we can see? Let's do it. Can you walk me through that process? Because I've never used ngrok before. And we've got 30 minutes to set that up. Well, I was literally just checking to see if it was on GitHub on Chocolate, and it is. So Choco install ngrok, right? Am I saying that right, by the way? Is it ngrok? I hope so. Warning. Is it content? Okay. Dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so ngrok is installed. What does that give me? Is that something I can run? Oh, look at that. There's a shim for it. So I just ran it. What does it give me? Oh, hold on. ngrok local port. So what does that do? Ngrok local port. Okay. Unrecognized command local port. Oh, I see. Okay. So HTTP. So I'd set it up with 7071. Should it be different from the API? 7072 maybe, as an example. So, okay. Help me out here. What was the note referring to? I think I said a few things there. It exposes the API publicly. I.e., I shouldn't make it the same as the API. I should use a different port. So confused. The same as the website port number or the API port number? So it exposes localhost at the API port. So the API is currently running on 7071. So you want me to make it 7071. Correct? Because the website port number is currently 44,349. Okay. So ngrok HTTP 7070. Oh, okay. I think that is absolutely the case, Brett. Okay, so what is this? This is surf to URL above, as in this one? You want me to browse to that one? Public URI to local port. Public URI. I'm so confused with what it's saying. So if I go to this one, what does this give me? Okay. First, we'll give you a dashboard, which is what this thing is here. Okay. Beautiful. Where you can inspect traffic. Okay. This one is a HTTPS address that will route to there. Right. I don't disagree with that. I'm okay with trying this, I think. So I'm going to take that public port address and I'm going to put it in as the webhook URL for the marketplace, correct? And I'm going to hit save again then. Oh, look at that. So this was a post that came from the, look at that. So there's a bunch of stuff in there that avoid administrative distraction. Random. Okay, so that seems to be set up then. You can replay against local, which is cool. Replay with modifications, fine. Okay, so with that done and ngrok set up, I can then, well, that's the next thing. So how do I set up within this GitHub app? How do I set up a different price plan? How do I set up a level that a person could purchase? Was that part of this discussion here? Learn about pricing plans. Oh, you think it needs a response? What makes you think it? Oh, because it was a poke. Well, I guess so. I guess it would have expected. It says, what is waiting? Where am I missing waiting? Oh, waiting to receive response from your server. Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't know what that means. So you're saying GitHub webhooks usually just need a 200. So, I mean, okay. Right, so we've got that set up, so that's fine. Okay. But how do we set up a pricing plan? Types of pricing plans, free trials. Free pricing plans are completely free for users, right? Here we go. Creating pricing plans. To learn about the types. No, I just want to create one. When you click to create a pricing plan for your GitHub Marketplace listing, click Plans and Pricing. See, I don't have that. I don't have that option. I don't have that. I've got the option to install it, but I don't necessarily want to install it. I want to set up a pricing plan. I can add a logo to it, which sounds nice. So I haven't tried clicking try the link for creating a draft on the previous page. Create a new draft GitHub. When you create a GitHub Marketplace listing, GitHub saves it in draft mode until you submit the app for approval. Your listing shows customers how they can use your app. To create a GitHub Marketplace listing, go to Settings. Okay. Settings. developer settings, click on GitHub apps, which we did. Did that. Select the app that you'd like to add to the GitHub Marketplace. Okay. Doing that. Scroll down to the Marketplace section. I don't see a Marketplace section. Scroll down to the Marketplace. I don't see. I clicked on the wrong one. Marketplace. Yeah, I don't see that option. I must be missing something. You can also add a listing by going here. See what this brings up. Oh, here we go. Create a draft listing for... Oh, hold on. Okay. Create a draft listing for the OAuth app that I have. Listing name, that. Primary category. Interesting. Let's pick on that one. Save and add more details. Oh, look at this. Oh, plans and pricing. I have this now. I have plans and pricing. And I can draft a new plan. Oh, with a pricing model. Oh, okay. So let's maybe... I think I can bring some of this up. So let's... I don't think I'm going to give it anything away by doing this. So let's just show you what I'm doing. So I went here. I don't think I'm going to give the game away. I went into... No, I went into here. No. It's not gonna... Let's see if we can do this one. Right. So I've got a new plan. So it gave me the plans and pricing. So I can say in here, more subscriptions as an example. And we can say that there's going to be a flat rate of £1,000 a month, or £10,000 a year, because we're going to make so much money off of this, right? And we can say it is for personal accounts only, or personal and organizational, sure. So we're going to say more subscriptions, and we're going to say save draft. So we said plans and pricings. Did that work? Did it? Okay. Return to all plans. There we go. So that's a draft. Okay. So in theory, 3 of 4, what's that saying? I guess we'll have to do that at some point, but we're not going to do that right now. Fill in your listing description, create plans, set up a webhook, yada yada yada. So some of those I haven't done yet. That's okay. Okay. So in theory, I have a marketplace listing that's in draft, and I should now be able to then query that through devgep, through OctoKit, and we should be able to see whether or not that logged in user, the currently logged in user, has added that plan, right? Okay, so are you still around, Matthias? And let's just talk through what's going to happen here. I think what we're going to do But I thought that was one of the things that I thought, yeah, that was this link. So if I copy this one again and say paste, then GitHub app walkthrough, so we can get installed applications for current. So we should be able to get a specific installation of the Authenticate GitHub app by the installation ID. So I think OctoKit will have everything that we need. Barely doing dishes. Okay, so what I think we're going to want to do is we are going to want to. I don't think every API is in OctoKit. I hope it is. Otherwise, we're going to have to do some raw sort of API calls. It's not impossible, but I'd prefer to use OctoKit. So, talking through what we want to do. We want to be able to check to see whether the currently logged in user has access to a paid plan of our application in the GitHub Marketplace. If they do, they will have access to some additional features. Now, Matthias sort of suggested that we would want to do that in our API project, whereas originally I'd thought about doing that within the website project. But I can see the benefit of doing it at the API level. It just means that we may need to provide some additional API endpoints that check to see if the user currently has access to the application or not. And if they do, we can light up some additional features. And one of those will be to create additional subscriptions. But it also might be to enable things like subscription types. And we'll come on to that once the application is ready. And Kim's sort of agreeing with Matthias when saying, in my opinion, the website project should only contain the bare minimum for displaying pages to the user. So where do we sit then with regard to should the login requests that we have gone to our API rather than the... Well, you see, we kind of have to do that because that's where... See, that's even authorization shouldn't be handled directly on the website but in a separate identity server. So you're referring there to the actual identity server or to an API that we create. So at that point, we would send the user ID potentially to a new API endpoint, and then that will bring back a set of claims that are what that user currently has access to. Is that what you're referring to there, Kim? Well, let's see what he says there. Interesting. So if we go down that route, so we have done our authentication on the website. So we've gone off to the GitHub authentication provider. We've come back with the logged in user and the ID. Then the suggestion is that we then pass that over to an API endpoint. And at that point, that would do a lookup of the marketplace to see whether the current user has access to one of our plans. And if it does, that will return a JSON web token with a set of claims that are more information about that current user and what access they have. And then in there, we could have information like the plan level, and then that will then light up or not light up functionality on the site. Is that effectively what we're saying? If so, I don't disagree with any of that. Just need to code it. Excuse me, I'm clearly getting tired. Oh, I see what you're saying. So just return the jot, and then the jot gets sent back on any API request, and then again, the authorization checks are done, and that makes sense as well. Because based on the jot, that's how I pronounce it anyway, I JSON Web Token, that jot would get sent back to the API, and then at that point, the API could further validate each of the requests to make sure that they are coming from an authenticated user. Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. Okay. I think we have a plan in that regard. So I'm going to sign off for the evening, I think. Because it's getting late and I'm starting to yawn. So it's clearly past my bedtime. As a recap of what we've done today, we have basically got back to a known working API and website. So that the reason that was necessary was because I blew away my VM and rebuilt it from scratch. Talk to you later, Matthias. I had to build it from scratch, so we had to rebuild the VM, and we found that there were some things missing. We need to figure out the best way of putting those things back together. I also revealed my GitHub password to everyone, and I quickly had to go and reset that. So that was fun. Then we made sure that everything was working, which it was. Made sure the authentication was working to GitHub, that the website was up and running, that the API was up and running. And then we started to have a chat about integrating with the GitHub Marketplace. So that's going to take some more reading. Oh, I wouldn't want to release a personal token. No, because that could cause problems. Definitely want to do that. So next, I think I need to do some reading on this whole GitHub Marketplace thing to start figuring out how we can get some of that information. And I'm hoping that AutoKit will be able to. Excuse me. I'm hoping that AutoKit will be able to provide some of that, but maybe on Friday's stream, what we should start doing is start creating a new API endpoint that we can pass in a GitHub username to and figure out whether that logged in user has access to the plan that we created. And if it does, start returning some claims back via a jot. So that's where we're going to go next. So thank you to everyone who attended this evening. This should be me back to kind of a normal cadence of streaming. I don't have any trips coming up for a while, not until September. So back to normal sort of streaming. And thank you to Matthias, who gifted some subs to everyone who was on the chat earlier. So thanks to Matthias. And for now, I'm going to sign off and hopefully speak to you all soon. Thank you very much, and have a good remainder of your evening. Talk to you later.